DTM in the town, whose dressing is as vibrant as his personality, working in Qatar Petroleum as Senior Tech Assistant, here to present an education module for all of us, for benefit, which is going to benefit all of us. He is none other than Toastmaster Moosa. A big round of applause for him.
I'll take this side. Audible?
Yes.
Too audible?
Yes.
Toastmaster of the evening, fellow Toastmasters, guests, a very good evening to all of you.
Good evening.
Generally, before you get into a pool of water, you might see someone doing this action. You know why they do that? Three advantages. One, you know that there's nothing in the water that can grab you and pull you in. And the second one is to see the temperature. It's not very cold, not very warm. And the third one, you know how deep it is. Almost you get an idea about that. So similarly, before I start, I'd like to ask how many of you are Toastmasters here? Okay, a fair number. Good. How many of you have given your icebreaker speeches? Great. How many of you have given your fifth speech? Thank you.
How many of you have completed 6?
No, up to fifth is fair enough for me because I see a majority who hasn't done that. And based on that, I can tell you how an appealing speech can be. I termed this initially as a winning speech. Then I understood that if it's an appealing speech, then it is definitely a winning speech. Doesn't matter on the score sheets what comes, who takes the cup away. But if it is appealing to the audience, feel yourself confident that you won it. Right? Any TBAs can be done. Right? So, there are a few tricks that you can add, which is common for all appealing speeches. A few ingredients, as if I tell my wife to make anything, there will be few things which is common. The chili powder, the turmeric powder, it goes even with omelets, same, doesn't change. That ingredient works. That's the best part. So I have some ingredients like that for a speech, an appealing speech. Right? So let's come on to that. Let's focus here. A few things I might ask you, few things you can ask me when I finish. Right? Okay, here we go. What should be the first aspect of an appealing speech? A good beginning? Do you agree, Anusha? Title. Got that right by the neck. It's a title. TBA. Your attention was caught, I tell you. People were thinking, what's TBA? Right? That title made all the difference. The second one, when it came, it was almost like
They grabbed it.
they grabbed it, but slowly. The first one was already in hand. Right? It was in the mind. So the title makes a difference. So how should a title be? If I say that I would like to speak about myself, I'm going to give an icebreaker speech and I'm going to give it a title. My father wanted me to be a doctor, but I became a barber. Can the title be something like that?
Clash of the Titans.
Yes.
It can be.
Too long.
It's too long, right? Too long. So what is always we can ask. When we finish with the speech also we can say, we give a message also we can ask, so what? That's okay. But to have a short, crisp title which people can keep in mind and which is like a hook that can hold you and pull you away, that's important. So first and foremost thing is a title. So here we go. It should be catchy, one-liners, and it should connect to a thought process. I can give a one-liner, I can give a catchy title, but if it doesn't connect to a thought process, all goes in vain. So it should have some connection to the topic you are about to speak. A thought process should be clicked off. Right. One of the speeches, the title was, no, the third one. Messenger. The messenger. Did he connect to that?
Of course.
Yes, he did, right? So was his title a successful one? Yes, it was. Here we go. Second is a Sureshot Openings. Who clicked off here today with the most Sureshot opening? We had 4 speeches, including the smashing Sukiru speech, which made people laugh a lot. Who gave the best Sureshot opening? Toastmaster Suresh. What was the opening? You know that it's a Sureshot opening and you don't remember it?
The likes on the Facebook.
Likes on Facebook.
He was checking his mobile. He was like Facebook updates.
He was checking his mobile for a Facebook update.
Ask a question to.
He asked a question to the audience. So question is a Sureshot opening if it connects. Here we go. Question. Get them to participate. That's the intention of asking a question. Right? Share the figures, amazing. So let me tell you, many of us know, in fact when I introduced a very senior person, I started with asking the audience, do you know what that figure 6.5 refers to? It was a huge audience, very classy audience. And then people started to think about that 6.5. It is almost the number of expatriates in Gulf. 6.5 0000 number of expatriates. So it's an interesting way to get the audience attention, focus on. Share a story of interest to the audience, a vivid one. Now today we had a very vivid story. In which of the speeches did we have that vivid story? Why is it vivid?
President.
President, of course, yes, he had a vivid story. Yes, who was that other speaker? Solay Raj. And what was the vivid story? Memory, a subject. Yes. That story was the linking factor, the opening factor of the speech. Share a fact connected to audience. Now many of us have a fear in us, right? Many of us have a fear in us, a fear of change, fear of English, fear of public speaking, which is the worst fear for which many of us are present here. So share a fact that is connected to the audience. Fear is one of the facts. Facebook not working is a fact which is connected to us. So we start thinking on the same line with the speaker, right? Use a quote. Anyone used a quote today? Arumugam used a quote. Yes. After the quote, what do you have in the story? How do you make an inspiring story? What could be the most inspiring story? Your own story, right? It's a personal story. Could be the most inspiring story. Anything you might have read on the net, anything you might have gone through before. Because one of the stories I heard today was inspiring, but I had already read that about the boy at the football field. So probably that was not linking me in that much. But at the same time, when someone was telling about how his grandfather used to help people out, that story was inspiring for me because I haven't heard about it before. It's something new to me. Right? So audience looks for personal stories which is connected to them. So that's inspiring story. But there is a technique of making an inspiring story. And in an inspiring story, there will always be a transformation. From poor to rich, from unhappy to happy, from weak to strong, disloyal to loyal. There is always a transformation, and that makes the story inspiring. If I would tell a story where I start with being weak and end with being weak, will it inspire anyone? So it's important to see there is a transformation in that story. I remember one of the winning speeches where the coffee had inspired us. Your president was giving that speech. It was a very inspiring speech. Right? In case I would tell you a story where I try to fool somebody by telling a lie, and then I'm very successful in doing that. Right? Will this inspire you? No, right? It starts giving you a negative vibe in head. This is not something that I wish to do. It clicks. Conscience says no, this is not right. And then people start rejecting that story slowly. The result, the entire speech gets pushed away, rejected. Prevailing over adversities, this is what I said. From weak to strong. From not so capable to a capable person. From a negative to positive person. A transformation. Giving audience an alternative. It's not because one of the world champions was sitting on a wheelchair that he became a world champion. It's because he shared an experience with the audience. If you listen to his speech, he shared an experience with the audience which was unique. It was not about his sitting on that chair which made the difference in all the judging, which made him a winner for that contest. Right? Highlight better human qualities. Relevance to contemporary. Some things which we say which belongs to a very old era, which does not even connect to the people. For now, if I start talking to you about a speech about letter writing, we had somebody talking about FB, Twitter. Whom would you get connected better? It depends on the twist. It depends. So what? Yes, but you get more connected to the contemporary factors, right? A pinch of humor. Today we had enough of it, right? We had really a good, I should say almost a handful of it. Emotional, touching and controlled. Sometimes what happens, people want to express their emotion. In the process they cry, and they try to make the audience cry. They try to kill a few people during the speech. You don't have to do that. The experience that you go through should bring the tears in their eyes. It is not to make them cry. No, it is to make them feel what you want to say, to get the message across, right? Sometimes you make them laugh like anything, emotionally touched. Good, great. But does it get the message across? If it does, it is successful. If not, It's another humorous speech. That's it. Right. Storyline, as I mentioned, transformation. Clumsy to graceful, sick to healthy, weak to strong, unpopular to popular, boastful, modest. So many of them are here. Right? If I put from black to white, will it connect here?
Yeah.
Will it?
Yes. In India, it will connect back to it.
India, it will connect. Okay, if I go to Africa, it might connect.
It will be a success
Might
story
connect.
for parent level.
No, but that depends on the subject you are talking about.
Absolutely, depends on the subject. But it's not necessary that people take such transformations positive. So you have to be careful in which type of transformation you choose. It should not be like you want to do a segregation between any particular category
Can I ask something?
of people.
Here when you say transformation,
Yes,
all is going from negative to positive.
yes.
Is there any possibility that positive can come to negative and just positive?
There are possibilities that it can come from a negative to, a positive to negative and still inspire people. Yeah. Because one of the speeches I heard was that there should be a fight, or there should be a collide between the what do you say, children in the same home. This improves in developing them. Sibling rivalry is a must. Sibling rivalry is a must to develop the child, the children.
Positive tension.
It gives a positive tension. It can go that way, provided how you build up your case, right? The story flow, this is one of the techniques you follow always, right? And it is, I should say, around 90 to 95% of the time, this story flow becomes a very successful method of taking the story across. First and forward, conceive, believe, achieve, plan, set targets, and meet objectives. That's the main thing. You introduce the storyline, introduce the characters, the location, the plot and conflict. Why do you introduce all these to the people? So that you connect?
Make it interesting.
Make it interesting?
To realize.
To realize?
Imagery.
Imagery. Okay. I would say that to make it more realistic, make it have some credibility. When you say an incident which happened at a place with so and so at such and such time, there is a lot of facts and figures which gives it credibility. That's why we always introduce characters, right? After that, you move on to action. Action reason. How? Development of character. Now, which character are you talking about? I am in the story, plus I have a friend in the story. Which character am I talking about? Rising or developing of the character? Is it me? Or is it my friend?
The hero.
It would be mostly my friend. Because you are seeing me, you know me, you feel that I am in front of you. But that person whom you don't see needs a development in the character. If I am talking about someone's grandmother and I say, her hair was reflecting the sunlight. It was like pure silver. And she was as bent as a rainbow. I'm describing that character, I'm building up that character. How beautifully that character is made, seen. The intangible is made tangible, you feel it is there. That's how you paint it, the building of character. Plot or the conflict. Now building of the plot or conflict, I'll come to that later, right? And there is something called suspense in that. After that, we go to the climax of the story. There should be a rise point the story, the audience is just waiting. What happens next? I need to know that. This is the end of the story. So when you build a story and you just finish it off without a proper climax, what happens? It's like you draw a line on the beach, standing in front of the water. When it comes in, you draw a line, and when it goes back, it all goes away. So a climax is very important. And after that, here we go, we have to end the action. Now for Soleraj, fear was the enemy. For me, Joy Mata is the enemy. He will start putting the lights on. Right? You have to end the conflict. The conflict resolution is important. How you finish the conflict situation. How you present that final situation and give the message. So it is something like this. A complete flow is something like this. Right? Okay. Now after the story flow, what would be the next step? You got a proper beginning, a title, a proper beginning, a story started to flow. After that, conclusion. No. Let me go on that storyline a little more. I was driving. It's a plain statement. How could I make it more of a little bit of suspense on it? How could I add a suspense to that? Nabu.
On a dark bend in a curvy road,
Yeah.
and it was pitch dark. I was driving on a misty night, something like that.
I was driving on a misty night. Okay. I was driving to where? Makes a difference. I was driving to work. Right? Then what could be the suspense built on it? What could be the tension built on it? I was driving to work.
I couldn't see anything.
I couldn't see anything. Rise the stakes. The suspense is built through that. I was driving to work and I'm late for the third time this week. I risk losing of job.
I was driving with no views.
Here you go. Source of annoyance. Maybe the fog is a source of annoyance. Dust is a source of annoyance. A bad flu is a source of annoyance. Right? Then you go on to the element of danger. This is where everybody gets excited. Because there's something going to happen now. My car had very bald tires. So you're giving the dangerous situation now. All the way from just I was driving to you have made it a very dangerous situation. Now the excitement is completely built. And then what happens? It starts to build on. But I remember a Hindi mushaira, probably people might understand this. It's a very simple thing. It's from a very famous comedian. He said, "Oot chade pahad par." You know what's oot? Camel. Chade pahad par. Was climbing the mountain. And the people were excited. Okay, oot chade pahad par. Wow, wow, wow. Then after that, he said, "Oot chade pahad par." More excitement. Yes. What happens next? Finally, they got impatient with him. They said, "Aage kya hua? Kya hona hai? Utar ja." Bring all the excitement down like that. So here we go. This little game of what if. Whenever add to the stakes, make it dangerous, and then come to how you arrived safe. Okay. Many people have a habit of building it. A simple thing. Hey, I was just driving down that roundabout, whoa. And what happened? Nothing, I just crossed it. Wow. Surprised me. Right? Work with words is a technique that you can utilize to paint entire thing. Here you go. Painting pictures with words. Use sensory languages. What is sensory languages? It's not the one with censor board cuts. It's different. Sensory languages. Anyone?
Which you can smell or
Feel, you can smell. Can you give an example of a sensory language? Use of a sensory language in your speech?
cool breeze,
It's a cool breeze.
aroma of freshly brewed coffee.
Aroma of freshly brewed coffee.
My quote is a softer silk.
cot, my cot is as soft as silk. Is it silk? It is silk. It's a sense. The mechanic's hands were as rough as a rock. Makes a feeling, you know. Suddenly you feel that roughness in your hands. All that water fell on me and I was feeling giddy, wet. When you show that action, when you paint it with your words, people start to feel the same thing which you feel. That's why we paint the pictures. It's sensory language. Make your character the stars. I mentioned that. The character, if it's your friend, make him the star of the story. Some people go on to say, I did this, and I did this, and I did this. Fine, good. You did all that? Great. But they are more interested to know about the third person, not about you. You are there, okay, good. And you have done great things, wonderful. But they are seeing you, and they know, though they think they know you, right? The other person is not known. Build him up, build the character, right? Okay? Use examples, similes and metaphors. I used a simile now. Do you remember what was the simile I used?
Rock.
Yeah, it's not
As rough as rock. I used a metaphor during my module.
bent like a rainbow.
She was as bent like a rainbow, is a metaphor. Do you understand the difference between a metaphor and a simile now? Can you give me an example of a simile? Anyone?
Sand as white as sugar. Sand like sugar.
Sand is like sugar. Sand is as white as sugar, or is like sugar. Is a simile. What about a metaphor?
The president.
She's a lion.
The cub of the club
Yeah, the cup of the.
is a metaphor. Beautifully put, right? Okay. Make intangible concepts tangible. You might feel that it is there by the words you utilize. I could almost feel that jealousy. It was like a wall between both of us. Ravi is such an excellent speaker that I feel there's a wall of jealousy between us. So you almost see that there's a wall there. So it's not there. Sweet.
It's not true. Self-speaking is not true. Jealousy is not true.
Sweet and simple use of English. Try not to complicated jargons. Hard to bite stuffs. It's good to learn new words, but don't try utilizing all of them into your speech. Try to go with simpler terms. Make sentences smaller, much easier to adapt. Right? When I give a long experience, or when I give a long feeling, for instance, as I walked down the valley, the flowers were blooming across, and I could see the blue sky up, and I could see the birds chirping, and I could see the water flowing. Beautiful. You have made a big long statement. It's wonderful. But imagine if you put it this way. As I walked down the valley, I could see beautiful flowers. Pauses make a difference. The break makes a difference. The sentence breaking makes a difference. I could see the birds chirping. Right? That makes a difference. So those impacts you can bring into the story with simple and sweet language and some expressions. Like, am I anywhere close to the time? Yes. See, I told you. Reduces content. Right? If you have simple English, reduces the content. Dwindles requirement of more review. Because what happens, sometimes speech you have to review and review and review so that you see that, okay, this is what I want to present. But when the content is simple, you don't have to go through it that many times. You know what exactly is there, right? And draw the triangle, I, U, we. The best use would be we. Because people like to be included or involved in the story that you are giving, right? And finally, your last words. You know what that means? Your last words? Not your last words. The last word that you would like to give the audience to take away is a message which we are dealing with. For instance, a powerful end. Shall I read out the powerful end to you? What do you feel if I read out a very powerful end to you? For instance, there is a powerful end here. So write as your heart speak, friends, for the words cannot be chained nor burnt. Does it make a impact? No, it doesn't, right? At the same time, if I say, so write as your heart speaks, friends, for the words cannot be chained. That much would be enough. Take back complete speech home. So it's important to memorize last statement which you need to give the audience to take home. Crystallize your thoughts, of course, galvanize your message, mobilize your audience. You know what does it mean by galvanizing your message? Right? Crystallizing means reducing it. Galvanizing means connecting it all to the last point. And mobilizing your audience means to instigate them, to motivate them, to inspire them, mobilize them to do something. Right? That's the point of it. Okay? So there are 8 cue cards. This is a summary of the whole thing. I have crystallized, I have galvanized, and I'm putting it to you now. Let's see what are the 8 cue cards which we can utilize for a good speech. First one, click the mind and hook the audience. What does that mean? What are we connecting to? The title. Connect emotionally and personally. What does that? The story, the transformation. Cite metaphor stories to frame the content. Which part? Working with the words. Clad the message with a theme. Your last words? Suspense? Yes. Construct and design your speech yourself. This is very important. Right? What happens is, mentors are too good people sometimes. They help you with the entire speech. They give you the speech. And then you only you have to practice it and present it. Please don't do that. That speech is not yours at all. You won't be able to give it with the same feeling that you had prepared. Create depth, not width. A story can go elaborate, but the depth you create in that particular story is what people are going to take home. The width is forgotten. Cling to your moral conviction, ambitions of the audience. Try not to give subjects which people will feel, I don't want to be doing this, right? This is too much. Close with a message of hope always. That would be the best way to take it home. So those are the 8 cue cards which I give you for the presentation. Any questions? Can I take just 2 minutes for the questions? Is it okay? Ravi? Okay. 2 minutes? Yeah, any questions?
No questions. Normally when you are communicating a message,
yeah,
what kind of an approach would you advocate? Just say the message first and then use an approach, or you use a deductive approach, give your points and then say because of this.
We learn a technique in Toastmasters which is called get to the point, which is go to the elaborate section, come to specific, and then come to the message. So that keeps the audience with you. If you give the message right away, they have already taken it. Whatever you say else is closed. They don't want it further. Right? So we try to give it at the end always. Any other?
How should be the title? Most of the times I think people view suspense title or just one word which will explain your speech?
The third statement in the title slide which we saw is all that the title takes away. What was that? It should generate a thought process. So the title should generate a thought process, but should be connected to the topic you're speaking about. If I say my speech title is networking, and I speak about everything but networking, then is my title any good? It's not working. Here you are. So with that, over to
You're going to share this presentation with us?
definitely, it's on your PC.